Hello everyone, welcome to A Foreigner Farming in the Philippines. I thought I'd give you a little garden tour, at least of our garden up here. Just transplanted these onions here, it's showing up real well. These are red onions, just transplanted those up here. How this little guy got trapped underneath this hose. Just a little small row of them here. This was what's left over from when we were having the rat problem. I had 2 trays of these planted and it came up and the rats ate most of them. That was before we had our little rat-proof enclosure there. These are some kind of a pepper. I think they're, I can't remember. Marcel planted these. I don't know what kind of pepper they are. These are our bell peppers here. Again, the classic tiny little fruit bell peppers, but they do have bell peppers on them. This one actually has a pretty good sized one down here. They're doing okay. I've never seen really large bell peppers here. Somewhat larger than these for sale in Alturas, but not often for sale anywhere. But they're a definite must ingredient for sweet and sour pork for us, so definitely planting those. And I've got 3 big packets of seeds that I'm going to plant today and get them started, and we'll transfer those down into one of the fields probably in about 3 weeks. These here are the sayote that I got day before yesterday. We've put them in the ground. As I understand it, that's just how you plant them. I've never grown these before. Have no idea. I just know that they're a vine, and we'll see. Our tomatoes are doing okay. We've harvested a lot of tomatoes off of these, but I've noticed a lot of loss on these leaves here, and I think it's because of I think it's because of getting water on the leaves. These peppers here, we've harvested a lot of peppers off of these as well. I don't know how much longer these are going to grow and produce, but they're still growing and producing, so they're not going to be replaced. The Amplia seems pretty resilient. It's doing well. Our watermelons here were never fertilized, and so the melons aren't big, but we've harvested, I don't know, maybe a half a dozen and eaten them. They definitely have to have, and they weren't really watered properly either. This was like a jungle in here, and I couldn't find the plants to water them, so I was just watering along the row. And then I came in and cleaned this all out so that I could find them. And again, they weren't planted in basins. I think I've got everyone convinced that valley furrows or basins are the only way to go. It's the only way to get enough water on things here when you're watering them. The Oppo is just about done. The Oppo squash, the cucumbers are still producing, but they're reaching the end of their cycle as well. We'll get some more of those planted. These tomatoes are still doing really well, still producing. These onions, we're gonna harvest these onions and replant here, and the extra we're going to replant down in the lower fields. Probably a, I don't know, 7-8 to 1 return. So that's good. This corn here is doing great. It's doing really well. Thick stalks. I've only fertilized this just a little bit one time with chemical fertilizer. All the rest has been the fish water. and it loves it. So the corn is doing really well here. I think I'm going to plant the rest. We've got, I don't know, maybe 100 seeds left from that can of seeds that we planted down around the bananas. We're going to plant those around the rest of these Lemoncito trees. The eggplant are doing really good. I think they got like 9 kilos off of these a few days ago, and they'll be ready to harvest again probably in a couple days. One thing I'm really pleased about right here is you can see they've come up as well. They're down in there, and these are this kind of, they're, you know, they look kind of like a cantaloupe. Maybe it's the Philippines version of a cantaloupe, or a variety that does well here. That packet of seeds was planted in this basin. Most of them came up, and they're doing well. That fish water is good stuff. Now, we also planted some other melons, watermelons that I'd had, just seed packets laying around. Surprisingly, these did not come up, and they were, you know, these were locally bought. None of those came up. I had some yellow meated western watermelons here, didn't come up. But we've got melons, the local variety of watermelons in all these basins. You can see here in all the basins down here going towards the fish pond. All these have been planted with 6 or 7 seeds, and most of them came up. They're doing well. So no need to train the vines yet, but I can't figure out which way I want to train these vines, whether I want them to go this way or this way. But you have to have a walking path, and you don't want to step on them, so they have to be trained one direction or the other. Things are looking good. This little watermelon plant here is just taking off. I don't know if I'm going to need to, I'll probably come through and use the chemical fertilizer one time around all these, and then just rely on the fish water after that. Marcel has some squash planted over here. No squash yet, but they're doing okay. I told Marcel I was going to stop watering the beans that she has planted on the other side, because you know, they weren't planted in a row. I don't know, Ging planted those, and I don't know what she was thinking. It's like she just scattered the seeds out, and wherever they came up, wherever they came up. And I had a heck of a time finding the plants to water, and there's a slope here where these beans are, and these are all our pepper seedlings that we have started. I don't know, I don't know how many are in here. There's probably over 500. These are what they call a bell pepper here. It's a sweet pepper, and there's some hot peppers in here as well, and only Ippy knows which are which. But these are all going in the lower field as well as these tomatoes here. I've got 3 large trays of tomatoes. I had 4, so Gina must have came up and got one of them and planted them down below somewhere. At least 2 of these are going to go in the bottom field, See if I can show you what I mean on these beans over here. They're just everywhere. Not really in a row. I couldn't put basins around them, so I couldn't get enough water on them. And they're just sorry. They're just sorry looking. So we're going to abandon these beans. I mean, we have gotten a few beans off of them, but because they haven't had enough water and haven't been fertilized enough, they're just not, you know, they're producing but not flourishing, and they're not producing enough to waste water on. And the okra back in there, there's 3 short rows of okra in there, and they produce, I don't know, over 1 kilo of okra a day. So they're definitely worth watering. In fact, I think I'm going to plant those bell peppers right now and get them started. I've had the seeds for almost a week, and just one thing or another, I haven't got them planted yet. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to go over and show you the last of the tomatoes that we have planted out. These here are doing well. There's no problem with the wilt in these. We had a colossal rain last night. I mean, it just I don't know, it woke me up and I went back to sleep. So I really don't know how long it rained. I think maybe just only a few minutes, because the pond didn't come up that much, but it was crazy hard raining, and it actually washed out a few of these basins here. So I've got to come through and redo a couple of these. But these tomatoes are just, these plants are just packed. And this is some of the most marginal soil that we have here. But I made extra care to put basins around these, and I wasn't stingy with the fertilizer, and I've been using the fish water. So these are producing very well. And that so much water last night, when you get a tomato that splits like this, it's from too much water at once, because the fruit just gets saturated with water, and it'll make them split like this. Now usually they split around the top, but they can split right along the side like this as well. And that's from that rain last night, that crazy heavy rain. There's another one right here, and that's a shame. And it usually happens to fruit that is ripening, and it doesn't bother the green ones any, but the fruit like this, it just explodes it. So I would imagine anything that was turning red in here, or mostly red, has split from that surge of moisture. I water these, and I water them pretty well, but it was nothing like what came down last night. And so to split these, it must have rained after I went back to sleep. It must have rained a fair amount more. So I mean, I'm not crying. Rain is always welcome here. Thank you, everyone. That's going to do it. That's our garden update. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.